Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors, episode 81, featuring Ibro Kebe, COO of Ascxnd LLC, and an XR expert, Metaverse builder, and a longtime friend of the show. Thanks for reconnecting here, Ibro. How are things going for you?
Doing good, David. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you having me on. Glad to be back. What's this, our third episode?
I believe so. Yeah, number 3. I think
That's dope.
you and Jagar now
Third
tied
out of 81.
for most appearances.
Let's go. Let's
That's what's
go.
up. Appreciate
Yeah,
you.
I don't think I'll be dethroned too easily, okay?
No, it's all good. You guys are on the same level. You're both Metaverse builders. You know, we love to talk Metaverse here. So I do appreciate you reconnecting with us. So yes, welcome everyone to Web3 Warriors. I'm your host, David Krome. Go by Krome in the Metaverse. And today we're going to be talking about XR with Ibro, who's done a lot of really interesting work in the XR space, which of course is the umbrella term for extended reality, which covers augmented reality, virtual reality, as well as really the digital world as kind of an extension of reality more broadly. So, you know, this is kind of a ever evolving area of Web3, and it's a space that we'll definitely be continuing to revisit as we explore, you know, all of the evolution of the space and really what's possible on the blockchain and what's possible in this new kind of Web3 era of the internet. So looking at the business case of XR is kind of the topic of today's episode. You know, during one of our last episodes, we talked about fashion and the idea of being able to use AR for basically like digital wearables and trying things on digitally and not having to, you know, actually go into a store and try something on. You can actually just put in your dimensions and what you need and try things on like virtually in the digital world. So that's one kind of XR use case that we've definitely talked about just recently. But I think, you know, Ibro's got some really cool use cases in the construction kind of vertical, as well as we've heard a lot of interesting space XR use cases in the medical vertical as well. I know we talked to Nanome, I don't know how many episodes ago that was, but they were looking at decentralized science and the ability to use VR to actually, you know, do a lot of biological studies that were much more difficult
a lot
before.
of the training is done like that too, you know?
Right, yeah, training, right? So that you're not using cadavers.
I randomly walked into the bank last week in Navy Yard, which is in DC. I walked into Bank of America, I had to go cash a check. And behind the teller, behind the teller was a virtual reality headset, the Pico 4, right? And I'm like, I'm having a candid conversation with her. I'm like, yo, what are you doing with that? She's like, oh, they sent us this for our new training modules. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, what are they training you on? Just like basically how to use our network, how to use our system. And they have some customer service training modules there where we interact with avatars to see how we are supposed to react or interact with customers when they ask certain questions. So I'm like, okay, dope. And I kept it real chill, as if I didn't know what the hell was going on, because I wanted her to kind of explain to me, right? Then I finally told her what I was doing, and she was like, oh, so you already knew about that? I'm like, yeah, but it's good to see other industries expanding, because you'll hear a lot about the health field, you hear a lot about the construction industry, and you'll hear a lot about what was the other one you mentioned? Fashion, right? But what you won't see is like these day-to-day industries like banking, right? Or think about mechanics, the automotive industry. So I think that's where I've been able to kind of like pivot or give new business ideas to these brands, because it's like, look, you're already doing well, right? Because clearly you're open, your business is still open and your books are open. Now, what can you do to make sure you're here 10, 20 years from now, right? So, and that's when we talk about being interactive, being immersive, and always thinking about one demographic that I've focused on a lot now is the youth, right? I know we always play around with our Ethereum and think of the children jokes, but it's like, when you think about it, parents spend more money on the kids than anything, just to make sure that, one, they're happy and they have that peace of mind, like, all right, here, go do what you need to do. One thing that I know we're speaking more so about the XR and construction, but I wanted to bring this up before I even forgot. Hospitality, hotels, right? So getting overall interaction up. Like I mentioned, we've been doing events at the Citizen M, right, here in DC. And what I've been trying to suggest to them is like, hey, how about if we did an AR scavenger hunt around your hotel through these different rooms or these different little pieces of art that you guys have? That one, the people that do it, you get maybe like 5 to 10% off their stay, or you can decide what kind of reward points you want to start incrementing, so that as they start gaining these reward points, they're able to spend them in the future with you guys. Of course,
Bro, that's so
it's
genius,
very low
honestly,
hanging
because they
fruit for
already
me.
they make you do random things for their reward points, right? So why not, like, go
Bingo,
explore the hotel, like find different pieces of
bingo,
art, that's a really cool idea. Wow.
bingo. So I've been trying to get that idea conceptualized and finalized, because I know for a fact that it sounds like a lot for a business, because they're like, well, who's going to make that? This is where I come and play. Feel me? And I think they got to get comfortable with paying us creatives with the same amount of money they'll pay their regular marketing teams.
Right.
Because this is full-on immersive marketing. So you can't try to undercut us by saying, well, our budget is only 10K. I'm like, fool, I can look at your books and tell you, like, all right, well, or not, I can't look at them because they're not public, but you have an idea of like a hotel chain's marketing capacity. So I think that I've been trying to just pivot into that. And I'm really looking forward to this upcoming event, which is DC Startup Week, which is going to be between the 16th and the 20th, right? And that, to me, is DC's biggest, like, entrepreneur meetup / hangout, learn, expand, try to connect with people in different areas so that you could put yourself in the best position. So they're going to have 4 different tracks. I think they're going to be an AI track, a Web3 track, a mental health track, and a green and environmental track.
Wow.
I'll be speaking on the Web3 on the Immersive panel. So I'll be talking about the state of the Metaverse. So basically almost giving like a State of the Union address.
Let's go.
Which is crazy, I feel like I have an honor to do. So I'm going to be on the panel with 4 of the dope individuals. Jesse Alton goes by Mr. Metaverse, Eric Brown, Michael, Michael and another person. I'm gonna find that information and share it with you. But
cool.
I'm looking forward to that, man. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And overall, it's fun. I think it's a low hanging fruit for me because I've been in this space for a while now. But I realized that, man, if you done right, you saw what Pokemon Go did. So it's like, it's only a matter of time that someone can recreate.
How many years ago was that now? That's almost 10 years ago now, right? That was a minute.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like at least 8 years ago.
So if we could recreate that on a scale,
that's wild, man. That's wild. No, you're definitely on the bleeding edge. I appreciate that, and we're gonna get into that. And definitely, I want to hear more about the DC Startup Week. Shout out to Jagar. We got Metavoxels in the chat saying, "Give me that seed phrase." Diabolical.
Get that seed phrase up, Jigsaw, man. Get that seed phrase up.
Appreciate you. And shout out to anyone else watching in the chat. If you do have any questions, anything that comes up during this conversation you want to comment on or ask questions about, feel free to chime in the chat. We also have NFT giveaways for the most thought-provoking questions. So we love hearing from the chat and from the audience, and of course we will have this up on all the podcast networks by tomorrow and live on YouTube.
I got a rare Pepe I can give away.
Rare Pepe, oh snap.
Kudos.
That's some real value on the blockchain
there. Yeah, man.
Okay.
Not bad.
There you go. Rare Pepe is being on offer. We'll see what kind of comments and questions we get. So, Ibro, you've already kind of dove into some of the new stuff you're working on, which is super exciting. I definitely want to hear a little bit more about that hospitality pitch. That's a really cool angle. And I think AR just offers gamification, right, to brands. And it seems low-hanging to us, but it is still a bit of a lift. And it's definitely a huge amount of value on the kind of PR and marketing side of things, right? So it should be compensated well, however easily it might come to you and I, we know that not everyone realizes, the actual work that's behind it and the knowledge and the time that it took to gain that knowledge, right? So awesome. So what's new in your world anyway, aside from that? Thank you for rejoining the show.
What's new in my world? Aside from like the creative stuff, I'm starting to get some like balance, I would say.
Nice. Balance between the IRL and the digital world, is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah, like between the digital and physical world, between IRL and Metaverse stuff, because I'm speaking at a physical event in relation to a metaverse topic, right? So halfway in, halfway out type situation. So for me, it's like, okay, that's cool. But also in life too, David, like, shit, I'm just taking it easy, taking my time, figuring out like, okay, hey, this makes sense for me. Will it make sense for me in 10 years? And what do I want to do in 10 years, 5 years? All right. What are you doing now to get yourself in position? So I'm currently at the Department of Buildings in DC, getting international building code certification and international construction code certifications. Wow. So that career-wise, when people start talking smart cities, Internet of Things, and they're going to start building in that way, I kind of have a heads up on it to where I could address building code issues at the same time as pitching Ascxnd as being a modular building company. So that's where I can say balance, right? Because it's a long-term game. I may not be able to sit back with 100 million, but I think my kids will. You feel me?
There you go.
And I think if we could set the stage for that, I'll be happy. So that's what's newest with me.
Nice.
I'm maturing. David. That's what we call it.
We're all out here maturing, learning as we go, building as we go. So tell us about Ascxnd a bit then. So, I think you're Chief Operational Officer, right? And it sounds like it's a lot about, blending the XR with the construction and the modular housing opportunities. Yep. So share a little bit about Ascxnd, if you could.
Sorry, I just got it. It's funny you said share something about Ascxnd. My partner Juju just texted me like, yo, what you doing? I just said I'm on a podcast.
There you go.
Ascxnd, we started 2017. So we both went to Howard. We both played football at Howard, Julian and I. We call him Foot Doctor. That's his code name, Foot Doctor. You feel me? Or Foot or Doc.
Okay.
You feel me? So Doc and I went to school together. He was, I would say, probably the best football player I played with ever. He walked away from the NFL, from like getting drafted. You could, and that's a validated
for education. Is that what you're saying?
No, he had a little bit more resolution than us at that time, to where he was like, it's cool, but I could do something else. You feel me? So we both I tore my ACL. He broke his foot. And our other best friend also tore his ACL. At the same time, we're like, yo, we kind of looked at each other like, we're not indestructible, and it's not like now guaranteed you're going to the league, So it's like, okay, what can we do? Randomly, it was an entrepreneurial program happening in the School of Business. And they were kind of being tricky because, like, you have to be a School of B student to get in. And we're like, come on, we're students here. We're athletes. We want to learn how to leverage, sports management, because I was a sports management degree major. Pam was physical education, I believe, and then Julian was civil engineering. So we used those as like, hey, we're trying to figure out how to leverage that in business. So we came in, we did the entrepreneurship program. And that was like the first time we got to see like, oh, you have to have an idea. And once you have an idea, you conceptualize on that idea. And if you have a solution, then you think about how can you sell this solution, or is it a viable solution? Can it be monetized? So that whole thought process started happening. I'm like, oh, okay. I stepped away. I started this little book where I would write all my crazy ideas down. And David, I'm not gonna lie to you, I need to mint that book, and I need to probably try to see if I could like sue some people, because at least 3 or 4 of those ideas have come to fruition. So
were you telling people about all your ideas as you were?
I wasn't. I literally only spoke to maybe 2 people about it.
Yeah, that just means it's a good idea though, but sometimes it's the timing, it's like you weren't the only one on that wave.
Exactly. Exactly. So to get to the meat and potatoes, Julian's family's Haitian and Jamaican. Around 2015, we all remember the Haiti earthquake that was devastating. We saw how it leveled the infrastructure in Haiti, and just like what kind of, the devastation it caused. We're like, damn, okay. What would be an easy way to build and keep people protected You feel me? And we were just looking and we're like, maybe a box. And then we're like, damn, maybe shipping containers. Feel me? So from there, Julian being a civil engineer major, he started putting together designs using shipping containers, and we just started running with it. 2017 came along. We got an opportunity to bid on our first project, which was the Howard University press box. So that was like our push to incorporate, get business insurance, get business address, get licensed, get everything we needed to become like a company, right? So that pitch fell through for us, and that's a funny story that I'll probably get into it. I'll tell you later. That pitch fell through for us, but it put us in a position where we're like, okay, well, we have everything we need for something else, right? So we started just putting out more designs. 2018 rolled around, we get a random email. You've been nominated for Forbes 30 under 30. We're like, oh yeah, let's do it.
There you go.
Feel me? Based off, and that was for green tech, and it was green tech and infrastructure, because being construction.
No doubt.
So I went up to Boston, and 2018, what? That's how many years ago? 5? No. Yeah, 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Yeah.
5 years ago. So I was 25 when I went up there. I was young, you feel me? So I didn't know much of shit, respectfully. I didn't know anything. I was very like, I'm just here trying to do this. This is what I do. But what I did notice is a lot of people my age there were part of a program called Forbes Scholars, where they basically partnered up with universities to get minority and like cultural representation at these events, right? Which was cool, but I had in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh boy, you earned this one, You earned this one based off you having created something. So don't take your foot off the gas right now. So from there, we got a lot more aggressive in terms of like trying to get projects, and we were able to land this scheduling job for UC Davis. A dorm was being constructed in UC Davis, and we were given a contract as the schedulers. And that was my first like experience in like construction management in terms of like project management, right? So understanding order books, understanding pay routines, understanding permitting, understanding zoning, understanding everything that comes into like getting your whole entire construction management project done. So from there, it kind of just rolled. We had another opportunity to where we built a rec center in Fort Myers. That was amazing. That was my first project being boots on the ground. Like, all right, you're in charge. You feel me? And that was different. It was a lot of responsibility in terms of like you're the first one there, you're the last one to leave.
Seems to be the way it goes in the startups, and when you're part of the leadership team, right?
Exactly. And in that case, because we had 4 subcontractor scopes that we were fulfilling. So we had 4 teams. I had 4 teams that I was managing. So the drywall team, the stucco team, the epoxy team, and the acoustical ceiling tile team. David, mind you, so this is crazy. Construction is not my background. Right. I didn't go to school for none of this. So this was just kind of like learning on the fly, learning people on the fly, and just being like, okay, how does this make sense? Spent a lot of time with the superintendent, who gave me some good life lessons at the end, and kind of, put me in position to know like, oh, I know how this shit works now.
Nice. Is there a website for Ascxnd so people can check it out and learn
For sure,
more?
yeah. For sure.
What is it?
It should be Ascxnd, Ascxnd.com.
Okay.
Ascxnd.com.
All right.
And those images, and those images are, or we have images of those projects on our website as well. And honestly, it's been a fun experience. It's been a good experience from when we started to where we're at now. Right now, we've been focusing the majority on on the physical side, like actual work. We've been focusing more so on fencing, because a lot of people don't realize fencing is one of the biggest parts of the construction industry, but it's such a low-hanging fruit that you don't even notice it. But it's always fencing around construction projects, right?
Makes sense.
And what you realize is companies, once you buy that one time, you're just basically renting that equipment out year round, right? And they're paying you for yearly rental. So it's something that we kind of like stumbled into that was pretty dope. I skipped over, but my favorite project that we did was Art Basel 2021.
Yeah,
21, I think.
And you were kind of working on it for what kind of project there at Art Basel when you had those modular
that
you built?
That was for American Express. So American Express has these tiered cards, of course, gold, silver, gold, platinum, blue, XYZ. So this was for like their platinum guest members for Art Basel. I'm just giving context here. I gotta give you the good stuff. I gotta give context. So this for the platinum award members, and basically we were tasked with putting together two 20-foot art galleries, converted from shipping containers. So we got two 20-foot shipping containers from the marina, took them over to our warehouse, got together with our welders, got together with our electrician and our framers, and basically got to work. That job was supposed to take David like 5 weeks if you're just working on like a regular pace. We finished that in 2 weeks. That's the least amount of time I've slept ever. That's the most amount of work that I've worked ever. And it was just crazy. It was just crazy. But to see the final product and everything, I'm like, man.
Nice.
Okay. We can definitely do this.
I remember the pictures you shared a bit of in the room, and they look pretty dope what you did there. But as long as Amex is happy, right? That's a good brand to
that's all that matters.
have connected.
Go ahead and do that, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. So our goal, honestly, and I think, and this is why I really want to, that's what I was mentioning, the balance part, because once I can really understand these construction and building codes, I want to start really strategically trying to get these art boxes placed as they should be, placed in different galleries, maybe outside of galleries, or a modular compartment of a gallery, so that's something, a gallery that can be taken on the go. So figuring out the best way to pitch this idea to companies, clients, XYZ.
Right. And those art boxes are incorporating NFTs, or are they just using basically like actual physical art kind of?
That was physical art, right. for that time in Basel. That was physical art. But because we can electrically wire those to have screens in them, and the reason, so the crazy thing is we had to install an AC unit in there because they were using live paint, or they were using like real paintings. So mind you, imagine a metal box on the beach, right?
Miami, yeah, it's gonna get real hot in there real quick.
So you don't want no paint to melt, all that stuff. So we had to install two AC units in there just to make sure that we didn't have any loss or damaged goods based off, those were $1,000. Some of them were definitely more than $1,000. I'm damn sure, very expensive pieces of art, and we didn't want to take liability for any of that stuff.
You don't want to take that on.
Exactly. But let's say we're able to do it in a digital way. It could be a way where maybe just a fan or strategically placed windows so that you have airflow, so that it's not as hot in there, and you could just put screens in there, and it's ever changing. So that's one. Or you could really make it like an interactive where it's someone in there doing art or something, It's never, I think people get stuck in like, you see something once and you think that's the only way it can be used or done, right?
Right.
So
Well, you need
like we
innovation,
taking
right?
the exactly,
it's all about the
like we
innovation.
taking
That's the name of the game, switching things up.
exactly,
So I definitely
exactly.
I want to jump from your very tangible, physical, entrepreneurial project with Ascxnd and hear kind of how that inspired your jump into the digital and into the extended reality and into the kind of metaverse building side of things. And I can see how it's connected, right? You're building in the real world, you start dabbling in the digital, and you start building out, and you realize, oh, I can do this too. But yeah, how did you go from Ascxnd into kind of the metaverse building side of things, and how are they related?
Oh, and this is it to me. It was like serendipity, because to sell a client, you got to show them designs. We already design in 3D, right? So when people are running around saying, "Oh, you have this 3D world you have," I'm like, well, I guess my whole life is a 3D world, because that's all I've been doing, boy. You sleep, So I think that was how easy the transition was, because, mind you, when you have an idea, so like a press box, that has to be designed top to bottom. Feel me? You have to have depth, angles. It's a 3D design. So if that design isn't accepted for what it's supposed to be done for, used, we could retrofit this for a virtual space so that anyone can use, hang out, come and see. So that's where that led me. I guess that's where the correlation came, because I always understood what we were doing as like, oh, this is dope. And I was always into VR, AR, all that stuff before it was even a thing. So when it happened, I'm like, oh, I guess now I can kind of talk about this out loud, because like one of my biggest ideas was like, how there's an app store for phone games. Before the virtual reality headsets came out, like on a major level, this was when I was like 18, David. I'm like, yo, someone needs to create an app store for virtual reality games. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of like Oculus has their own app store, right?
Exactly. Something low-hanging fruit like that. So I've always had that concept in my mind. So now that I guess I can do something, and it's not just me. I have a great team. I have a great partner. I have great partners. And I think that that's what allows me to be so flexible and nimble in these spaces, because it's like, all right, I can do this, but it won't be by myself. You feel me? And I can bring along people to get the job done with me. So I think that gives me a lot more flexibility, transparency too, because it's like, I can do it, but it's not just going to be me,
right? And you're building as a team, so that's really cool, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Building in the digital, building in the physical, keeping it all related. So turning to XR, like what are some of the kind of newest use cases that you're really excited about? I know you've always got some new interesting pieces that you're seeing, interesting emerging technologies.
Yeah, man. And this is something I saw, and I'm like, boy, I'm going to have to pick this up myself. Learning how to play musical instruments through XR.
Really?
Yeah. Like I saw this one module where you can learn how to play the piano, right? Because basically the keys are in front of you, and it's pointing to where you want to press, and it's directing you. So simultaneously you're learning. So if you have and this I think with the Quest 3, I know we haven't talked much about headsets, but the Quest 3, the new Quest 3 headset is out. That from what I've seen, their immersive capacity is definitely outdoing the Pro, that the $1,300 device that they dropped last year or earlier this year. So I'm eyeing that damn device. I might do it for Christmas or before Christmas, because they might do a price raise, because meta.
Demand and supply, man.
Exactly. Yep. So the Quest 3's out. It's a lot more immersive. And what I saw was you can look at like a keyboard or the piano keys, and you be directed like what is what. So as you're playing, you're also learning.
Wow.
So I think to me that's dope, because one thing that I think is the skills that people are losing: handwriting and music instrument playing.
Yeah. You got to have the time
People
and you
don't
got to
write in
have
cursive
the
no more, David.
put
That's
in the
that's
effort,
something I noticed. Kids can't write in cursive.
Yeah, it's true. Well, they took it out of the curriculum too, so it's not even the kids' fault.
Yeah, it's actually sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. So for me, I look at it and I'm like, oh man, calligraphy is a thing. Like I have great penmanship, if I may say so.
Nice.
So for me, when I look at sloppy handwriting, I just be like, boy, something's
you
wrong
feel
here.
for them, eh?
Something's wrong here.
There's some art in the way you write,
It's some art in there, and same time like understanding like the musical notes, like octaves, 1/16, 1/8, 1/4. Not only does that correlate to mathematics, but you also correlate that to other things in life. So I think that we can use this new tech to go back to what we're supposed to learn. You feel me?
Get those basics
Understanding
covered, make it a
how
little
to
easier.
reprogram that brain a little bit, and I think that's something I might. I think that's a topic of discussion for my DC Startup Week conversation. I'm gonna try to highlight that.
Most
using
definitely.
this new tech to bring back old habits, such as learning musical instruments, understanding like octaves, understanding musical notes, because that also correlates, like I was saying, to mathematics, and that helps kids learn geometry better. And I'm just thinking out loud, I'm dyslexic and I have dyscalculia. So a lot of things when I was in school, it was uncomfortable to say out loud that I didn't understand. So I just have to go home and try to study harder or do all this other stuff that just felt like I felt less than at a time. But we all know I'm very smart. I know I'm smart. I'm probably the smartest person I know. But it's just like during that time, I wasn't very sure of it. And I feel like we can use these devices to bring back not only that confidence, but just bring back that curiosity to be creative.
No doubt. Well, that's exciting, man. And on the headset question, for Quest 3, what is the price point and how are you feeling about the Apple goggles that are coming out? I know they're pretty pricey, but they look pretty cool from my perspective, and I just have some concerns with the Meta. But what is the Quest 3 price point, and what are you thinking about the other competition that's coming out?
I want to say the price point of last time I looked was $299.
Oh wow. Okay, that's super affordable. But you said it's more immersive than the Pro?
It's competitive. They dropped the price down crazy.
Yeah.
But I remember them saying that when the Quest 2 came out. They're like, we have a Quest Pro coming out that's going to be extremely expensive. Then we have another Quest 3 coming out that's going to be a lot more affordable, same capacity. I feel like they made industry bite with the Quest Pro because it's like, oh, I have immersive early, but it's like, you really got bit. So I think right now the best bang for your buck are between two things. That Pico 4, which I saw at the bank that they were using for that virtual reality training, PICO 4, and the Quest 3. But when Apple comes out with their stuff, man, it's going to be tough to like even deny them usage because it's like everyone's geeked for Apple products. You feel me? And they do a good job of giving you the tech that you want, but also they're going to cap you off a little bit so you still have to come back later. So,
Yeah. I just think
it's a strategic move for them.
Right. Looking at the kind of elusive, I don't even like the phrase mass adoption, but really just increasing adoption. I don't think that any headsets are going to lead to mass adoption because they're already hard enough to afford and not the most accessible technology. But do you think that the Apple goggles will fare better than, say, the Google things that they rolled out, right? The Google Glass, which was definitely too far ahead of its time and had this kind of weird data or privacy invasion kind of criticism. Whereas, I think with the Apple goggles, you're going to know people are wearing it. It's not like they're trying to make it super sleek where you can't even tell whether it's a piece of technology or not, right? But how do you think how do you think the adoption is going to go when Apple's pushing it out? Do you think it's still going to be something people just do in their homes and kind of like on the low, kind of like just, for entertainment at home? Or will there be more people just walking around with these things and kind of like taking in the world, because it has that option, right? To be able to kind of look through it as you're walking. Yeah.
You made me think really like in depth just now. on a heightened level of digital presence and or like network capacity, I wonder if 5G can support like a digital overlay while still providing us with like the bandwidth we need to communicate like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we're gonna need another. I think we're gonna need another. I don't know. Maybe I'm blowing smoke, but we may need another form of another interface that's plugged into the internet or that works with the internet, if that makes sense.
I guess.
So
I'm not even sure how portable they're looking to make it, actually, now that I think about it, because they are pretty powerful, right? So I don't know if they're as portable as, say, the Oculus.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, think over the reality, right? How you got your world, but then you got over the reality over top of it, right?
Mm.
I think if there was a worldwide web that people could put content on and you toggle on that, you toggle to that side of like the internet to see the data, so it doesn't interfere with your current bandwidth. I think that's a thing, right? I think that could be a thing. And David, I probably just created something just to let you know.
We're just giving out free IP here, you know.
This is IP. We're gonna make sure we save this combo. The 81st conversation on Web3 Warriors. I gave some secret gems that might really break the network soon. Yeah. But I think that might be what might be needed. And I think that could create a whole new that could revitalize creatives to start creating again, almost like not even like a new Silk Road, but I want to say I was young, but when the Silk Road was popping, I feel like that's when hackers and people that were in the tech came out their hiding hole the most. Why? Because they had a new system that they could really work on, where they trusted, they felt comfortable on, and there wasn't like a magnifying glass at your butt, right? So I think if that can be created again through whether it be immersive space or just like, hey, I made a new layer of the internet where it doesn't matter what you say, do, think, act. This is our space. That will bring out some new creatives, and I think maybe it's an idea is worth Ibro talking enough about and eventually working on.
No doubt. And I mean, I think that's the goal of the metaverse too, right? As far as being able to have that plot of land that you actually own in your sovereign wallet. You can define who's allowed to go there, who's allowed not to go there, what kind of speech or any kind of speech. If you want it to be completely 100% free speech, then you can, enforce that yourself. So I think that's kind of the promise of the metaverse. And there are still, different kind of capabilities depending on which 3D space you're going to build in. Or like you said, you can just build it yourself from scratch, and then you don't have to worry about really relying on any central platform per se. So on that piece, looking at building kind of and incorporating the blockchain side of it, because that's what you kind of need to break away from the censorship, right? And to create more transparency and accountability. So how do you think the NFTs are kind of factoring into the evolution of XR right now? It sounds like the conversations I see about AR and VR, there's not much emphasis on the blockchain. Shout out to OVR and a couple others. Illust has also got some interesting blockchain integration.
Yep, shout out to Illust too.
Yeah, Illust for sure. So they're integrating the augmented reality with the NFTs by basically being able to buy your lot in the augmented reality space, which is attached to a map. So it's a real area of the world that you can buy on the blockchain, and then when you enter that world, you can actually put up different AR displays and things like that. So that's kind of the cool use case we've been talking about since we first had you on the show, right? And we were highlighting OVR, and then Illust we heard about more recently in the last year or so. So yeah, how do you see NFT adoption kind of playing a role in the XR space, and do you think there are more kind of interesting use cases, or are they all going to be kind of this map-based world? How are you seeing NFTs play in there?
There's this guy, his name is Mando Duck, OG Bitcoiner. You can look him up on his Twitter handle, Mando Duck. I think in 2014, he created some like immersive AR game on the Bitcoin blockchain. You feel me?
Wow.
Like immersive scavenger hunt. I think, and I alluded to him to get to your this question, to get to your answer, because I think they're here. It's been here. It's just not going to get as much hype as the $240,000 sale or $1.2 million sale, because that concept is more communal. It's more made for people to use, share, and like experience. The only shit we're gonna hear is shit that makes money.
Right.
If you're making money, if you're making a ridiculous return on something that's frivolous, that's when people care. And I think that it takes away from the creativity that people take in this place, because it's like, cool. If I wanted to rug you, I would have.
Right.
I create a game. I can make games. Feel me? So I think that's to allude to your answer, man. Like, that's to answer your question. They're here. They've been here. It's just tough to get a lot of attention when the money isn't circulated around you, or Sotheby's isn't sponsoring your game. You feel me?
Doubt.
Now, I bet you if we made an AR or just any type of NFT game that's surrounded around, anytime you go to a Sotheby's auction and you got to collect these random AR tags around here, I bet you that shit go crazy, because the first person to collect 100 gets one free bid on one item. Right. Imagine.
Yeah.
It said you collect 100 of these, you get one free bid on one Sotheby's item. It doesn't mean you're gonna win, but you get one free bid.
Wow.
Now you just think about what that would do for people who love Sotheby's, know Sotheby's is linked to people, knows it's linked to Paris Hilton, know it's linked to all the money mongers in the world. They're gonna geek, right?
Yeah.
So if we want that, that's what I would do, and that's why I kind of like sit back and watch the space, because I could do shit like that. Feel me? But people can rug all day. That's why I love, like, and right now as I'm talking, I'm thinking about Kane and Lowe, because I'm like, that's why I love the space and the people that we build, because I'm like, we do this already. You know, I think we have to do a better job of execution. Like, as I'm listening to myself talk, I'm like, fool, you have all these ideas. Now get these done, because in the next 5 years, if we're still having the same conversation, you're a fool.
Nah, we're executing, man. We're building. You got awesome business ventures going. We got projects going. We're trying to build collectively, you know, maybe on the DAO side, and just supporting each other. But to your point, yeah, I mean, and we've heard Lowe, I've definitely heard Lowe say this a few times, you know, it's like, we could have rug pulled, you know, and looking back, you know, there's people that are like, oh, I missed this opportunity to basically make a bunch of free money selling AstroTurf
wallets rug.
Yeah, 10,000 wallets to rug. Yeah, no doubt. So I mean, it's a real concern of the space that seems to be the focus, and the rug pullers do get a lot more attention because, you know, there's money there somehow. They've gotten a bunch of money.
What would you expect? I want to hit this. I was about to say, he's just a candy ass pimp, but that's from Milan. That's from Truck Turner. That's from a movie, Truck Turner. Man, they're talking about Go Hunt Truck Turner, but he's a Bell's bondman who had to go track down some pimps. Long story short, but
nice.
I think that's the whole point, man. We have a team around us. We have people around us, but I think for the magic to be recreated again, we're gonna need another drastic moment in life again, because I think what really kept us what created the bond that we currently have now is the fact that we had ample time to really think and align ourselves with people, thoughts, ideas that you always wanted to do. Like, I remember you talking about how you've always wanted to be an artist, how you take pictures. You feel me? And I feel like COVID and that whole NFT craze gave us, like, creatives a chance to be like, why haven't I done that?
Yeah, let me just try this a little harder, you know?
Exactly. So I think that, you know, and it can happen again. I think one of us has to hit a large sum of money so that
Just one
we
of
can,
us. Just one of us has to hit and lift the rest of
we
us.
gotta, and then we just give each other a little bit of money so that, look, I got this product I want to work on. I think we can make more money, but I know you don't want to work for free. And I know that's what kind of fucked everything up before. So here's this to kind of like keep you going so that you don't feel like I'm fucking you over. Because I think those are conversations that people got to have now, because everyone's smart enough to do some shit on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, it now takes a team to be able to bring all that together and be like, look, all right, you're the best writer here. You're the best overall organizer, and you're the best shit talker. If we could all come together and do this and put this concept out, you know, and as we do this, boom, boom, we could build that. It'll make more sense. And I think that that's what we're trying to get to. And I think that's what we have within our whole blockchain gospel, tacos crew, and F2 jewelry crew. And I think it's just like, you know, we just gotta, it's tough, man. And I've always, I listen when, and I know I'm pivoting from our convo. I listen when we always talking like, man, we have motion, but we didn't complete, or people have said, but haven't done. I'm a victim of that. I know I've said shit that I haven't done. I'm like, damn. Now, don't let it carry over to real life, you know, because you want to be successful. But how do you actually fix that? You feel me? So I'm starting to really ask myself these questions, because we're getting older. I'm trying to start really put myself in better positions. So
yeah, well, it's like time only moves in one direction, right? It's like that fella quote where you got the time.
I don't know, David, because you know, time, you know, I'm on the conspiracy side that time doesn't exist.
It's all relative.
So
it's all perspective.
It's relative.
Yeah.
You feel me? It's relative. Yeah, no, I feel like I take that back. I feel like I just said that to be controversial. I don't know what my thoughts are.
No, you're getting philosophical with it. We're always open to some good philosophical conversation for sure. No, I love where you're going with that though. And I think like the way I like to break it down, and we probably said this before on an episode, but really looking at like the investment vehicle track, like there's the investment vehicle track that's been kind of a distraction, frankly. And I get it, and power to those who have used it to actually fund good projects and actually build cool stuff. And in that case, I love the investment side, and there are still some PFPs I'm holding on to. You know, I was just showing the long necky ladies in the metaverse here. There's also Afro droids, you know, Crypto Rastas is another one that I'm a proud holder of. So I have a few, you know, PFPs that I support their community genuinely, whether or not they are able to execute on any big grandiose kind of vision, right? But the community's still alive. And to me, that's what matters most, is like, are there people that are holding these NFTs for a reason? Do they see value in the community? And so again, it goes to the investment track or the creator track, right? And I feel like that's what we're slowly kind of understanding, that there are these two parallel tracks, and it doesn't have to be like one's horrible and one's great. I think that they both kind of have their value, but there's a lot more, I think, long-term value in looking and focusing and kind of emphasizing the creator track and not being as concerned about the investment vehicle track, right? And I would say right now, the narrative out there in the mainstream, like you were saying about Sotheby's and, you know, Jay-Z, Paris Hilton, you know, V Friends with Gary V, and they're all cool, you know, power to them, but ultimately they're all focused on this investment side
Jay-Z
of the
couldn't even
industry.
sell out his NFT project.
Right? Gary V recently didn't?
So Jay-Z.
Oh, Jay-Z, yeah. Well, that, yeah, you know, and you see these celebrities teaming up with random kind of, you know, quote unquote influencers or whatever. And often it doesn't work out that well. Like I look at what Jay-Z did when there was that 25th anniversary of Reasonable Doubt, and they had a cool little Sotheby's gallery in the Metaverse. I think it was in Decentraland. And when I went to see it, there were actual cool content from Jay-Z, you know, just cool videos and clips. But importantly, there was a POAP, and they were able to take that POAP from the 25th anniversary of, you know, the Reasonable Doubt. So I thought that was a cool use case. Now, I'm sure Jay-Z personally had nothing to do with that, maybe, but it's still a cool kind of idea as a use case for something that's not about trying to say, oh, this is going to be worth a bunch of money later, although they did have that as well. They were selling actual Sotheby's NFTs that were crazy expensive, you know, related to Jay-Z. So there is that side of it. But at the same time, they were giving away free POAPs, and they had an experiential side of it where you actually went to this gallery in the metaverse and got to like see, you know, some history from Jay-Z. So I thought that that part of it was awesome. And the NFTs that are really expensive and going to be for, you know, more wealthy collectors, that's all right. You know, power to them. I think where the problem comes in is the over promising and under delivering, which seem to be really, you know, commonplace. I would say 95% of those really hyped up PFP projects really under delivered, and some just walked away completely and didn't even pretend to deliver anything. So yeah, you know, looking at XR and looking at NFTs, like you were saying, taking that example of the person who had built an AR, you know, kind of it was a basically AR game.
Yep, AR game and scavenger hunt.
Scavenger hunt, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, so that's a really cool use case.
On a game, he's building a game on Bitcoin, like on the blockchain. When we get off here, I'm gonna share those links with you. It's something that I follow him just on some, like, I need some motivation, you know, because what he's doing is
on Twitter that I follow for
like
that
he
reason.
moved to Japan. He moved to Japan and started like reverse engineering like the small handheld devices so they could like work on BTC. You feel me?
Wow, that's epic.
So for me, it's like we only see what they want us to see. That's why I feel like the NFT conversation is just like the rest of the world with the media, man. They only gonna show you what they want you to see. They tell you NFTs are dead. They just did Pepe Fest in Paris. And Viva La Vandal, not Viva La Vandal, Pepe Nardo piece sold for $16K.
Dang.
And then DJ Cubert's piece, DJ Pepe, sold for like $6K. NFTs dead where? For who? For them.
And that was on Bitcoin?
So,
were those on Bitcoin or were they on Ethereum? Yeah.
Scarcity. It was a scarcity auction. You feel me?
Pepe Fest.
So,
scarcity.
Yeah, people are crazy talking about NFTs are dead. It can't die. Like that's a whole, like, NFTs, NFTs are like memes now. Like them shit's not going nowhere. Feel me?
For real. And the Pepe memes are very powerful, right? These rare Pepes. It's very interesting to see how they're staying power and their value. Yeah. And I mean, the level of art, the level of detail that some of those artists put into those Pepes, it's like next level, right?
Exactly. And it's just, a lot of it is just thought, like, how can this be thought provoking? And I think that's the best part of being in that space.
No doubt. Yeah, that's exciting, man. So NFTs are definitely not dead. I see a lot of artists continuing to make a way for themselves.
Dead, man.
Sell some
They're
NFTs.
Not dead. People just don't have any emotion.
Yeah, it's weird, you know? And I think that on the community side of it, which is a really important conversation, and someday we're going to have a Web3 Warriors where we just invite, you know, anyone who wants to join from the community, and we just have like an open discussion about everything we've kind of been through Clubhouse, Twitter, IRL events, really connecting and take a look and really just take a step back and kind of take it in, because I think we've done a lot and we have a lot to be proud of. And to your point about things we've talked about that haven't, you know, executed or been actualized yet, I think that they still had a lot of value, right? They still inspired other people, they still inspired ourselves, and some of those things we will still action and execute. And if not, maybe they didn't happen for a reason, you know, and maybe a better idea replaces those ideas, and that's okay too. I think ideation has a lot of value, right? And even these conversations like what we're talking about today, like some of that IP you mentioned earlier, may just give someone $1 million idea, or maybe you action it yourself, and you know, we're back in a year and you got some really dope new metaverse projects. So yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's exciting. And even around the metaverse, right? You've heard the same narrative. The metaverse is dead because you've got plots on the sandbox, you've got plots on other side that are now 10 times less valuable than they were, you know, a year or two ago, right? And so that whole narrative is, again, about speculation. It's about the fact that people overestimated the value of their lots and paid ridiculous amounts of money for it, and it may never get back to that level of value, right?
And that hype train was crazy.
Exactly, but that doesn't mean the metaverse is dead. It just means you speculated and now you've lost out. You know, and those metaverse projects are TBD. Honestly, like I'm sitting here in Voxels, which is a nice, fully functional, fully alive, fully on-chain metaverse that has been functioning, and it's quieter than it has been in the past, but it's also still pushing forward. You know, they're trying. And same with Decentraland, they're at least open for business. They're pushing forward. They have a vibrant community, and though it's quieter than it has been, they're still pushing forward. But I look at Sandbox, I look at Other Side, And I get that they're trying to do something bigger, more immersive, a lot more bigger brands in there maybe. But the fact that they're just not open for business and people have already spent however many thousands, millions of dollars on their plots really makes me question. And I wonder, you know, I know the SEC likes to look at those kind of things, and you got to wonder, like, at what point were they just selling AstroTurf? You know, at what point were they selling a bill of goods when people spent ridiculous amounts of money on their plots that they still to this day cannot access, right?
Yeah. I would say I'm looking forward to Sandbox. I know they have a Unity Build It plugin, and I know that style of gaming is more accepted, or it's more on a childish, not even a childish, but it's for the youth, right? You can see a lot of kids on that voxel Minecraft type style. So I think that they can leverage that the right way. They can make some good money in their future too.
Yeah, for sure. I want to see it succeed. You know, I just thought it's interesting the way the speculation has played out so far. But it is my hope that everything rebounds, you know. And what do you think about that question of the crypto market? We all know is going to rebound, right? We all know it's inevitable that Bitcoin's going to rebound, especially, but likely Ethereum and everyone else too. But do you think that the NFT and the Metaverse markets also rebound with crypto? Or how do you see that kind of playing out? Yeah,
I feel like the money just flows.
Right.
Like they just literally take their crypto winnings and put it elsewhere. And elsewhere it just happens to be in that ecosystem, which happens to be NFTs and Metaverse. And I'm sure by the time the next bull cycle comes, of course we have like the ordinals and the inscriptions now. Oh, I gotta say this. I don't know if you remember when inscriptions first came out, and I'm like, yo, they're inscribing all types of BS. Why don't they inscribe like classified documents or disclosed facts and stuff like that?
Right.
So finally, someone's finally listened to the whisper that I put out there. And they started inscribing Julian Assange declassified documents on the Bitcoin blockchain. So I think that's a start. I think that should be the repertoire for all things immutable, because we do a lot of like forgetting that thing happens until somebody shows it again, and it's like, nah, let's stop doing that. Let's put it in a place that's secure.
And we have short memories too, right? And once you have that immutably on the blockchain, then you create a gallery for it, right? You create a space where people can go to learn about these things, and nobody can ever take that away, you know?
Exactly.
Definitely. And,
so that's what I just wanted to say about that. But yeah, I think with the return of the next bull market, we will see money flowing back into that economy or that ecosystem. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. And I think that if anything, the best advice I could give to anyone listening and myself would be just put art back out there so that you don't feel like a LARP or a leech when the money starts rolling in again.
That's an interesting concept. You know, like,
yeah,
I'm interested to see how the art industry on the blockchain.
Act like you've been here.
Yeah, exactly. No, and we've been here, you know, and some people have been here, but then they left.
Yeah, man, we're going on year 4, year 3,
right? Man. It's wild, man. It's wild.
That's nothing. That conversation doesn't even apply to us. I think it's just so that, you know, like we just said, out of sight, out of mind. If you're not on someone's feed as like, hey, I just did this piece of art, and when BTC is pumping at 70,000, and you say, oh, I just did this BTC art, and I just want $10, $30 for it, that, as frivolous as it might be, someone's gonna be like, you just trying to get some money. So I think just being cognizant of that, understanding social engineering too, understanding people. You just gotta know people gonna respect you knowing that you've been here. So I think that at least putting 1 or 2, 3. How many months we got till April? We got like 7.
Yeah.
6
NFT
months.
NYC, it's going down.
No, I'm thinking about the BTC halving.
Right. Of course, the halving. Can't forget the halving. It's March or April, right? Is there an exact date? It's kind of just around that cycle.
It's like April. I want to say April 21st, but I don't know.
Right.
I think that's the game you should be playing. You should have a backwards clock from April, and this is NFA, not financial advice for anybody, but buy that BTC, hodl.
No doubt. And you're saying
because
this while sitting in front of a Bitcoin ATM behind you there. Are you going to tell us a little bit about that?
Am.
What are you thinking about the market, and how does a Bitcoin ATM come into the play? You know, do you think that they're going to continue to grow in use cases? Yeah. What do you think the market's
I think they will,
doing?
and I think they will become. If you so my concept with this was to create a small little social club where my friends and I are able to exchange BTC amongst ourselves, funded within our own wallet, if not a wallet that's under my control, so I don't have to go through the exchanges. So with these ATMs, let's say there's a company that makes them, right? And that company has a partnership with like Coinbase and or these cryptocurrency providers, right? And so you have to basically connect that ATM to a DEX or a CEX, right? So it might be a centralized exchange considering it's their system. And then whenever you buy, whoop, the money goes in, you take it out, you got to pay them. But if you already have, let's say, one Bitcoin sitting somewhere, and you want to link it to this ATM as the withdrawing method or the withdrawing source, you now are withdrawing from your own BTC source, right? So you are now your own bank.
Wow. So you're withdrawing fiat from the BTC source via that ATM?
Bingo, I can, right? And simultaneously, if someone wants to pay for some BTC, like put money in and receive BTC from that account, they can do so simultaneously. So
how do you manage that as an individual operator? What does that look like?
You have to sign in as a money handler. You have to identify as a money handler.
You need like a permit or something for that? Yeah. License.
So I'm still finalizing the process, but the goal is to be able to really be my own bank, not have to deal with too much outside forces when it comes to like what I do, how I do. And I think that being in the space that we're in, it's a no-brainer. You don't want to be out here just talking it, but
right.
I live this shit.
And how do you feel about getting paid fiat or getting paid crypto for even your physical work, like the work you're doing with Ascxnd, other like non-digital work? Are you getting crypto at all for that?
I think right now, if I lived in Florida full time, I would probably say I'd take crypto all the way. But because of where I'm located, I need it like 50-50.
No doubt.
Because of the fact that some people don't even know what the hell crypto is here. So it's like that conversation can be very like, what are you talking about? So
right.
I try to it's a subtle push towards it by, my friends come over like, oh, what's this? Let me tell you what this is. Or
nice.
They might see a Pepe or some Pepe artwork upstairs and be like, oh, what's this? And then we start having a conversation. So it's my subtle way of orange pilling the people that I care about the most to getting into the lifestyle that's going to matter in the future, in my opinion.
I dig it, man. Awesome. It's been a really wide-ranging convo so far. I appreciate you. I know you're hanging out in DC there, and you were going to be going to the White House, and I was going to make a joke about you hanging out with Joe Biden and saying hi to Papa Biden.
I'm gonna pull that mask, make sure everything's still there.
Yeah. Well, one day I'm going to visit you in DC, and we're gonna be able to really have the IRL.
David,
experience.
I think we got to coordinate something like that, man.
Well, even this DC Startup Week, right? Is that an annual thing they do every year at the same time?
Yeah, DC Startup Week.
I'd love to attend next year.
Yeah, you have to. And shit, hopefully I'll have more of an input. Hopefully within that event next year. A lot of my friends, my professional friends and associates, not even associates, my professional friends, like my real friends, I would say, a lot of them are organizers and co-creators of that event. So I'm able to get a better, view of everything from there. So I want to say that it's not out of the question. I know they're always looking for talent, and hell, you're a hell of a talent. So
I'm always down to talk Web3, fintech, payments, that's the day job. So I'm down. I can talk anything. Yeah. Awesome,
Exactly.
man. Well, we'll catch up on the back channel and chat about that. And yeah, I hope that your thing goes well this month. That's really amazing, man.
Thank you.
And so
Yeah.
on that
I'm looking
piece
forward to it.
about
It's going to be on Tuesday.
Tuesday, right? Wow, that is soon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, man.
Yep.
So how important do you think these IRL events are as far as pushing the kind of space forward, right? Pushing Web3 adoption, pushing XR understanding, the digital world, the digital space. Yeah, how important is it, and what is the kind of main goal that you take out of those when you attend those kind of events? Because I know you attend them a lot, right?
Yeah, I try to. And I probably slowed down to the amount of the events that I do go to, but I think that's one of the only ways to really get someone to conceptualize and visualize what you're trying to sell. You have to be able to touch it, see it, experience it. So these IRL events help in not only just giving the education vocally, like, oh, this is what I do, but also having the headsets there, like, hey, this is what I do. Put this on, No So I think the IRL events are essentially the glue or the main artery for us to be able to flood or pump the AR, VR, XR blood to people. You got to have that IRL event, because if you don't, then what are you doing? You're just a hermit in the house.
Yeah. And that's
right?
My problem,
What was everyone doing before COVID? And that's what was crazy to me, David. Like, I'm very outside. Like, I'm an outside guy. So
nice.
It was felt weird when COVID was happening, but I didn't even really stay in much, which was crazy, because I'm like, oh, COVID is not even a real thing, because y'all are crazy if you think you're gonna stay in the house all day. Like, what the hell are you talking about? That's not even possible.
COVID ain't scaring Ibro.
Who made up those rules? Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, I spent a lot of time in Florida during COVID. I spent a lot of time traveling. I spent a lot of time doing what they said not to do and seeing the world or seeing the States. And it was very like, wow, this is nice. Feel me?
Nice.
This is actually better travel, because it's like you people are people that are actually trying to do something in life, not just sit here and like wait for the world to open back up. And sure, it might have been like a means thing, because sure, you need money to travel, and money wasn't coming in, people stopped working. So I understand. I think that I was fortunate, because simultaneously we had started the Potluck DC when COVID happened, and I was able to benefit from that. So I think that is I think my opinion now that I'm reflecting can be a little skewed based off the experience that I had, right? I had a quote unquote successful COVID in comparison to someone who might have just sat down. So
yeah, I can say the same as well. I was lucky enough to already be working remote before COVID happened. So when it happened, it was like no big change as far as working scenario. And I still did try to, get outside and travel. And basically, as soon as I was able to travel, because I was so excited about NFTs, I made my first trip to NYC, and now I've been there 2 times. I'll be there again next year. Actually, just got confirmation that I'll be speaking at NFT NYC. So super excited about that. Let's go, man. Yeah, it's exciting. So really, it's going to be an awesome opportunity.
So if you're speaking, then I'm your cameraman. So
there you go. Let's go. Let's do it. All right. We're going to need camera for sure. So we'll chat about that, definitely. And what's the sentiment like, because you said at DC Startup, for example, there's going to be AI, there's going to be mental health, there's going to be environmental conversation. And really all of those fall under Web3 as well, or have some element of Web3 touching it, right?
Exactly.
So when you're talking about Web3 and you're talking about the metaverse, what's the sentiment from these other people that are kind of on their own bleeding edge of environmental tech, or on the mental health conversation or AI conversation? Are they all very interested in the blockchain, in Web3, or do they have more of a standoffish kind of response to it?
It's not standoffish. It's more so, oh, I've heard about that.
Right.
It's like most people like, oh, I've heard about that. Well, what is it? How do I use it? So because they're so immersed in IRL, doing the events, that when you bring up, hey, you can also have a digital presence while doing this. It's like, oh, I've heard about that, but how do you actually do it? So the reactions there, it's 50-50. Like, if you you can meet someone who doesn't know jack squat, and they'll have the deer look for you, like,
right.
yeah.
Deer and headlights,
or you have someone who's who's done stuff on spatial and says, yeah, my friend sold me something on something called spatial or on cyber or Somnium or Decentraland, you know. So they'll have those buzzwords in the back of the head, but personally, as we used it, I can't say too much. So I would say that the conversation is there. The conversation can be expanded because of the fact that people that are doing so much IRL events don't or haven't expanded to that digital footprint yet. So I think that we can actually help them get there a little bit better.
Yeah, that's super exciting. And I think that's part of the conversation that needs to happen. And I think, you know, it's good that more people are at least hearing about it and are aware of it. But like that pitch you just made, right? Like, do you know that you can have this digital element to everything you're doing and just add additional kind of opportunity for A, revenue, but B, influence and being able to actually reach a new community, new connections, right? And so on your business case point, right, and the idea that maybe people don't quite see the value in that yet, you know, they wouldn't place that at a 10K, 20K, you know, worth, you know, they don't, because they don't see the payoff, they don't see the ROI, right, return on investment. How do you approach that from a business perspective? Do you think that you kind of have to almost lowball yourself just to get your foot in the door kind of thing, and then, you know, kind of go from there? Because it is generally going to require some level of maintenance, some level of basically needing an expert to make sure that everything stays, you know, accessible and working into the future. So maybe you get your foot in the door with a maybe lower money, lower amount, and then, you know, have a subscription or have some kind of recurring relationship where you're going back to help them manage it. But how are you approaching the business side of it, I guess, is the question.
And I think that right there is, I guess, I don't want to say a touchy subject, but it's where conversations kind of either run dry or move forward, right? Because it's like, a lot of times you're like, damn, do I want to take a little bit less money just to get this done? But when you brought up the model of like a subscription base to where it's like, okay, I know it would cost you $500 up front, but you got to pay me $250 for 3 months or 5 months moving forward so I can maintain this. Then you kind of still see the bang for your buck, and you have cash flow coming in throughout months. So naturally, when you're thinking about just like good business practices, some people would rather have recurring income throughout the months, knowing that they might blow a whole bag sitting in one day, right? So for people that may not be better business or money managers, or have a lifestyle that requires for them to spend fast, I think you can definitely tier it up that way. Me personally, I think that I have had to lowball myself just so I could just get like, oh, all right, bet. But you know what, David? My first AR gig, bro, I got paid 1 ETH from Art Basel. Remember when NFT Basel. Remember when Art Basel it was Art Basel and NFT Basel.
Yeah, or
there was a whole
Basel,
lot of Basels. Yeah, Bit Basel. There's a whole bunch of Basel groups. I got connected with one of them. They had an event at the SLS. I did the AR for them. They paid me 1 ETH. It took me 2 minutes to set up.
Let's go. That's what's up. Yeah,
and what fucked me up, I was like, I can lowball because at the end of the day, I'm already asking a lot, but I'm not even gonna create this era, I'm not gonna create this sentiment of like, this is easy and I can take the price down, because these people are businesses. Businesses aren't people. Yeah. So when I'm dealing with businesses, I don't try to do all that. Nah, fuck that. Give my money. Cool.
Yeah,
because
no doubt.
I'm not dealing with, you're not a person. You are a facilitator for this entity. Yeah. Don't try to get personal with me. Just give me what I need. You feel me? So
and I try to get to that point. You know, they'll get the ROI on it. That AR piece is going to increase engagement. It's going to do all kinds of stuff.
If they do it to a sense where it's like, hey, you have to collect 30 or you have to collect X amount. And every time you collect this and you spend, you get something else. And it's something very low hanging fruit. You feel me? And it could be even compounding points that go into like your stay. So it's all about like AR immersive tech is also biz development.
Word. There you go. That's the frame
Right?
to put
It's
it in.
also
That's the angle to
development
take for sure.
because we're coming in with a whole nother tranche of potential income that you weren't even thinking or conceptualizing. So not only are we your marketing team, you're also your biz dev.
Mm-hmm.
So when you bring it up to that level of understanding for a business, they gotta respect it.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I can see it already. That metaverse conversation at the DC startup, you're gonna have a lot of heads going, like, light bulbs going off, like, oh snap, like I could just do this, like I could just roll this out tomorrow. It's like, yeah, you could.
You can.
Yeah.
And that's the lowest hanging fruit. I think it's scary, and I'm gonna think about that idea of like this digital twin of the internet, because I feel like that's what's missing. Like people don't have no. I feel like right now the creative spark from tech is gone. Unless you're working in like the semiconductor, like people aren't AI. So like AI right now is associated with like robots and like not people. So granted, it is somebody programming the machine learning software to be able to give out these responses. Subconsciously, when you think AI, you don't think about a person, right?
That's true.
So anything right now, when it comes to like development, isn't linked to people. So that's what I feel like is what's missing. And maybe there's a conversation that needs to be had.
Word. Yeah, making it more relatable, making it more fun, really, I think is what it comes down to. And I think all the stuff you're talking about, these different gamification use cases, are exactly that, adding that kind of digital fun element to your brand, which has limitless possibilities, really, like you're saying. This is awesome, Ibro. Lots of amazing use cases, lots of gems for anyone out there, like you said, on the biz dev side of XR, really trying to think about, outside of the box ideas to build their brand and build engagement with their brand in the digital world. Lots of awesome gems, so I appreciate you. As we wind down here, I don't think anyone took us up on our request from the chat, so no free NFTs going out. That's okay.
You sleep.
Well, what's new and exciting around the corner for you, Ibro, besides the DC Startup Week, which we wished you the best, and hopefully your talk goes amazing. Anything else you want to share with us before we wind down?
Man,
are you planning to attend Art Basel? Do you know yet, or NFT NYC?
I am attempting to create or curate my own event for Art Basel that hopefully Web3 Warriors, tacos, NF2 jewelry, and blockchain gospel will be a part of.
Let's go. I'm there. I'm looking for things to do there, basically. I'm already kind of got my mindset, because last time I was only there for 2 days, so it was like a flash in the pan, and it went way too quick. So I'm like, I got to get at least 5 days, have like a real, opportunity to actually show up. Yeah. And hopefully we have events. So if you got an event, I'm down, man. Whatever you need.
Yeah, man. I want to do an event. I want to figure out how to make it so that everyone can highlight what they're doing or what they've done. And also, not only that, bring people in. So it's going to be two-tiered. What I've noticed is, because I've been doing events here, is not only so once you highlight an individual, there's also the branding and marketing part of getting people there, right? Because it's fine congregating with your friends, but you want fresh new faces there so that you can actually talk about something new and be able to build new connections. So not only will I think that I can always highlight my friends, it's getting new people in the room.
Yeah, and that helps your friends too, because they're building their network, right? So that's what's up. Yeah, exactly. And I'll say, every time I go to an IRL event, in the summer, just this year, it was that Blockchain Futurist event in Toronto. I was at NFT NYC earlier this year, Miami Art Basel before then. And at every one of these, I met several people who were kind of awesome guests for the show. And so outside of the networking, outside of the ability to, promote the brand and promote all the cool stuff that we're working on as a community, it's just the ability to meet someone new, invite them on the podcast and get a real deep dive on their project is amazing to me. So that's part of the reason why I'm like really dead set on getting to like as many Web3 events as I can afford and manage to get away from my 5-year-old boy, which is difficult for me and difficult for his mother, of course. So, but you know, I've been managing to make it work.
You know what you got to do, David? You got to figure out, you got to start programming, not even programming him, because that's not a good word. You got to start educating him on your way of life with this Web3 stuff.
No, he's on there. He talks about NFTs already. He knows.
yeah. So now you just bring him to these events, let him roam, go crazy. You don't even got to talk too much, just so that it becomes part of his day to day. And you know, within our friend group, we have enough. We have enough people to watch a 5-year-old. So.
There you go. We'll see. We'll make it work. And as he gets older, I'll definitely be having him tag along a bit more. And I look forward to that for sure. It's an exciting future. And like you said, it's for the youth, you know, all this gamification, all these like Sandbox and other Metaverse projects, like they look geared towards the youth, right? As much as they want adoption from all of us and all of the older generations, the reality is who's going to adopt it most? The younger people who live in this digital world, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I definitely appreciate being on your show. I feel like we had a great conversation today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ibro. I appreciate you. And to everyone who was watching in the chat, appreciate you. We'll catch you all in the Metaverse. Peace out.
Peace out, everybody.